Get the fuck out of here, Danny. No one cares.
How many times do we have to kill you?
How many times do we gotta teach you this lesson, old man? Yeah, no, exactly. きっと約束だよいつかまた同じ笑顔で Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to The Box, the one and only Annie Chat Box. Thank you for tuning in to episode 94. My name is Cami, and I'll be hosting you today, but I have a couple of dear friends beside me. All the way over in the UK, there is the one and only Jonathan Joestar.
Hello.
And back in my home state, and I miss her so much in Portland, there is Cassie.
I miss you too. Come back.
We had such a fun holiday visit. I appreciated it a whole lot. But I also appreciate our social links. So if you want to catch up with us, you can do so at twitter.com/AnnieChatbox, or you can send us an email at anniechatmail@gmail.com. And if you want another place to listen to us, other than the place you are listening to now, you've got options between iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and YouTube. If you're feeling charitable at all, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/AnnieChatbox. And don't forget, if you're bored, to check out our friends at our rival video gaming lifestyle media everything and anything else podcast, Save Our Progress. That's soundcloud.com/SaveOurProgress.
Spoilers, Cami was on one of their episodes recently. I listened to that one today. It was great.
Aw, I'm so glad you did. Yay. Yeah, it was really fun. I got to talk about movies at the end of 2018. But it is now a brand new year. It's 2019. And for our main topic today, we decided to talk about our New Year's resolutions for 2019. Honestly, I was listening back to our older episodes, and I realized that we also mentioned our resolutions around, I think it was for New Year's for 2018. That was way back when John first joined us. And
yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, way back in the day. And I know we talked about some resolutions, and I will say for mine, I made slight progress. I know back then that I was thinking that I wanted to cook more, and I made a little leeway, but I think I was aiming to be able to make my own ramen from scratch into 2019, and I just gotta tell you, it didn't work out. Not yet. It is still in progress. But, that's just something that we do sometimes. Thinking back on your resolutions from last year, do either of you know if you made any headway on those resolutions or not?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, John?
I completely cannot remember what my New Year's resolution from last year was.
Me either. I remember one, and that was to try and lose some more weight and get more active, which I am going to try and do this year, which I can talk about later, but I definitely kind of fell off on that last year. To be fair, a lot of stuff happened last year, but...
Yeah, I honestly think we probably fell off on our resolutions because we had a lot of other living to do and things that happened, and I guess that's really how life is. But either way, a new year starting in, we all, I believe, did make some resolutions for this year, and so we thought we would share them with you guys. I can go first and say that my main resolution for 2019 is to be more intentional with the time that I spend, whether that is spending time committing to my hobbies so that they don't really fall to the wayside, or when I'm typically engaging with people, that I want to be very present in my interactions. I think it's very easy in today's day and age to just easily kind of, half listen to a conversation while being on my phone, probably playing Fate Grand Order because it's a problem that I have. And I don't want to do that. I've had kind of a reflection over the end of 2018 coming into 2019 of that the time that I spend with people is precious and I might not always have that. So I want to commit to being more present and more genuine in those interactions. A lot of that goes through for my family as well. I want to get into a habit of FaceTiming my nephew every week to see what he's up to because he's a really cool, great kid. And I'm bummed that I can't hang out with him as regularly as when I did when I visited back home. So that's kind of my big resolution. Another thing I've been good at since getting back home is that I've gotten into a really good skincare routine in the morning, and usually I just would fall off a couple of weeks, but each day I'm waking up and I'm like, wow, my face feels clean. Let's do that again. So yeah, that's another one that I hopefully will keep up. I'm seeing the results already, so that probably means it's going to be easier to keep up on. John, what's a resolution that you have been looking towards for the new year?
I've got a couple that I've got. One is a pretty simple and easy one to go through. Just curb my spending quite a bit so that I actually do better at saving money. Because last year I definitely took a turn for the worse in that regard, and it came to bite me towards the end of the year, especially after spending all my savings traveling to America
and then buying gifts for your friends. I was there. I
Copious
remember
amounts
that.
of gifts. Hey, you want a gift? You want 4? Not that I'm complaining.
No,
They're very generous. It's just,
They were great.
That bit aside, it was after, even after I got home, things kept on biting me in the ass from orders and pre-orders and not keeping as much track of it all as I should have been. I actually went and cancelled a whole bunch of pre-orders already for this month, and I think I did next month as well.
Was that via Ami, by the way?
HLJ and Ami, yeah.
Was that an arduous process for you? I have heard that they are kind of tricky.
Thankfully, I didn't have any on Ami for this month I needed to cancel, but on HLJ, I definitely had a few. Yeah, not looking forward to when I have to cancel things on Ami if I decide to need to. But that is a bridge I will cross when I get to it.
That's very fair.
The other one that I want to work on is similar to what you said already, definitely putting more effort into the things that I claim to care about. I got kind of lazy and complacent with a couple of things towards the end of last year, and I got called out on it in a couple of regards, and I've decided to I already started putting a better effort towards curbing that attitude and making a better effort to actually show, yes, I do care about these things. And that is something I hope to continue for the rest of the year.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I get that. It's really hard to adjust yourself to being like a lot more present in certain things when you've gotten used to a routine, but as they say, I think it's practice makes perfect. So, and if you've already started and have shown some progress, then I'm sure you'll be able to keep it up for the rest of the year.
I hope I've shown progress.
You've shown plenty of progress, my friend.
Yes. Cassie, what are some resolutions you have? Because I don't even know if we talked about them like over the holidays.
I have a couple. I've already got kind of a head start on. One of them that I kind of started at the end of last year was I want to start reading more, whether it be manga, or books or anything for that matter. One, because I feel like I'm putting a lot of strain on my eyes with the amount of anime I watch, and videos I watch, and just the amount of staring at a screen, which ebooks and such are probably not going to help with that entirely, but at least I'll be doing it in a different way, or reading manga off my iPad when it gets to be pretty bad. But I did get a Shonen Jump subscription, which you can do right now for the nice old price of $1.99. And you can read up to 100 chapters of manga in their backlog a day.
You've been reading Promised Neverland, right? You're like all caught up on that?
Yeah, excuse me. I'm all caught up on Promised Neverland, and I started a new one today called We Never Learn.
Oh.
Which is pretty cute. I read the first chapter on the way to work this morning. I've also been chipping away at my Children of the Whales mangas that our other dear host bought me as a gift. I have a few more to get through, and for Christmas, Craig and Zach both got me books. Craig got me the first Harry Potter book, which I want to reread, and Zach got me a book called The Prince and the Dressmaker.
Yes, that's a graphic novel. I've seen it around in bookstores.
It looks really cute. The aesthetic kind of reminds me a bit of Princess Jellyfish, kind of. Just from the front cover. I haven't flipped through it too much, but I looked at it and I was like, that's what this makes me think of. Especially because it's about a prince who likes to put on dresses and explore this other side of them. And that also reminded me a bit of Princess Jellyfish for reasons.
Yeah, you should tell me if that is good and I should check it out, because it sounds really good.
I may or may not even bring it back up here. We'll find out. Stay tuned in several episodes from now, when and if I actually read this thing, which I will, because it was a gift. But I fully intend to read some more. I'm excited about that. I also signed up for a 5K the other day, so I'll be doing another 5K in June, which is the other resolution to try and work out and be healthier. We'll see how long that keeps up.
Well, you're even already signing on for something that will assure that you'll get involved with that at some point this year. So that's a good way to just commit. You honestly dove right in with that, which anytime that I told myself that I should get more fit, I have not had the guts to just sign up for a 5K. So I applaud you there.
You should come and do it. It's in June.
We'll see if that lines up with finals. We'll see. Another thing that I think is a mini resolution that I've had, which is weird, and maybe I'm just using it as an excuse, but in the new year, I've been trying to catch myself on some of my very small anxieties that I've had, and I'll say to myself inside my head, it's 2019. We don't have time to be anxious over XYZ. I'll just be stressed out about the most minuscule thing. And I'm like, girl, it's 2019. We don't get anxious about this in 2019. And it's just a weird mantra that I have in the back of my head. And we'll see how long that stays around. I don't know. We just got no time for anxiety in 2019.
That, and you're surrounded by so many people who love you and support you and just want you to be happy and not anxious, but are also understanding that sometimes these things just happen, because I sure need to get a handle on that as well.
Yeah. We got each other. And that's a huge backer for me as well, as always, to just remember that. So I feel nothing monumental has happened yet in 2019. Nothing crazy bad has happened yet. I still feel like the new year is fresh and can be what I make of it. I've seen people on Twitter being like, oh, this year already sucks, or this year's going to be the best. And I'm like, I'll be open-ended. I'll be organic. I'll just see what the year has to offer, I guess. What was it? I might even do some reading too. I got Michelle Obama's autobiography for Christmas, and I have been trying to pick up a couple more manga too via Bookwalker, so hopefully I'll be able to do that as well. And then I guess very quickly, if you guys have any mentions, I certainly do. We could mention maybe just an anime series or two, or a franchise that we might be excited for that'll be coming forward in 2019. Mine is definitely the Lord El Malloy 2 Case Files anime, which is a spin-off Fate series based off of my favorite character, Waver Velvet from Fate Zero. It takes place 10 years later, where he is a jaded adult with really annoying supernatural kids and they're solving mysteries. An OVA came out and I loved it, and I am so excited for it in the summertime.
How many times have you watched that OVA?
4 times. 4 times. And probably no more. I'm still looking up screen caps and stuff, but yeah, I'll cool down eventually.
Someday. I know one that we're both pretty excited about is Sarazanmai. I believe it's how
Yeah.
it's pronounced. I'm pretty
Yeah.
stoked for that one.
Are you stoked because of the director in choice?
Yeah, because, excuse me, there's yet to be an Ikuhara show that I don't like, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one's coming out towards the spring, which also is just going to be a stacked season. I'm looking forward to Chihaya Furu season 3 as well. And then another one, Cassie, that you showed me that I'm also now pretty interested in is Carol and Tuesday.
Yeah,
Which-
girl. I'm pretty stoked about that one.
Yeah, all these prolific directors coming back because that's Shinichiro Watanabe coming again. So, I mean, I can't think of the last time that we had Watanabe and Ikuhara in the same season. Maybe this happened at some point. I'd have to go look it up.
Let's say, has it ever happened? I don't know.
While I research this, John, are there any shows in particular that you're looking forward to in 2019?
I'm also looking forward to the Lord Elamolai second. Also looking forward to the Fruits Basket Brotherhood.
Oh my god, that's perfection. I mean, it is though. I feel like it is.
One series caught my attention, but I'm not expecting it to be anything actually good. I'm just morbidly curious about it. It could either be amusing or really bad. Cho Kato Girl 1/6.
Yeah, tell us what this is about because I need to hear the summary again.
Basically, a super otaku with no interest in 3D girls decides to buy a really expensive Bishoujo figure that is 1/6 scale when said Bishoujo figure comes to life, and it is a romantic comedy involving this otaku and his 1/6 scale figure.
So I'm just curious to know if you are interested in this because this is kind of a personal fantasy of yours, given all the figures that you have laying around, or...
Well, it initially caught my attention because I thought, hang on, is that a robot girl?
Of course.
She looks kind of like a robot girl, and then I read it and I was like, oh my god, what?
Yeah, it sounds like wild enough that you have to check it out.
At least the other ones that I've watched that are about small scale robot girls, there's not really been any romantic aspect, at least not mutual. It's like Buzo Shinki has that the Shinki love their master, but they're still just kind of weird to say, but kind of pets, robot pets in the eyes of their master. Not romantic love towards them.
I see. And in Frame Arms Girl, are they just kind of like cute mascot characters?
It's just like friendship between the girl and the Free Moms girls.
Nice. So actually, after some of my research on the air times of Ikuhara's shows and on Watanabe's shows, I don't think that they ever had shows running at exactly the same time or the same year. The closest thing that I found was that Cowboy Bebop started airing in 1997 as well as Revolutionary Girl Utena did, but I think that Utena started earlier in 1997. Cowboy Bebop didn't start until the fall. Other times they tended to just miss each other by like a year. For example, you had like Zankyo no Terror and Space Dandy in 2014, and then you had Yurikuma Arashi in 2015. So maybe this is going to be a monumental thing, spring 2019, having the two directors in one season. Either way, I will say my fingers are crossed that the new shows, Sarazanmai and Carol and Tuesday, will be really, really good.
Dear God knows one of us will be talking about it, so...
Heck yeah! That'll be exciting.
I will probably jump in along for the ride.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be super good.
I'm sure you'll find some stuff in spring you're excited about too, John.
Yeah.
It's pretty stacked. Spring looks like it's going to be one of the most stacked of the year. I'm not entirely sure if it normally is or not. I think last spring was pretty fucking stacked too.
Yeah. And then this, actually, when does the new Fruits Basket even come out? Like, which season? I haven't even looked that up.
I can't remember. I'm not
but
entirely sure if it was even really formally announced. Wasn't it in 2019 just?
Yeah, you're right.
I think it might be spring as well.
Oh, look.
That's going to be an insane season, if so.
Spring
what
or
was
fall?
it? Oh, I do think this year is starting kind of strangely in the fact that I feel like winter's usually been a pretty, like, decently stacked season. And this winter, I mean, I've only seen like one of my shows, but I don't know. I'm not as enthused by this winter's shows so far. But maybe there's a hidden gem there somewhere.
I think the Fruits Basket might have been summer, not spring.
Yeah, as of right now, I'm getting a bunch of question marks.
Yeah, I only see 2019 too, so who knows when, but that's another really good one in the pipeline that is pretty exciting.
It also whispers about a sequel to Takagi-san.
Oh, I just saw that. Yeah, floating around Twitter that it'll get a season 2.
Maybe the mangaka released kind of like a really cryptic message, but there's nothing that's been
It's
confirmed
not actually
yet.
confirming what it is. He said,
Oh.
look forward to announcement in a week. So it was an announcement of an announcement.
So it could be an announcement for a spin-off manga. It could be an announcement for, a new anime. It could be an announcement for we have no clue.
Yeah.
They've just got to keep us on our toes with those pre-announcement announcements. That's how they get us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how it goes. I'd say my last wish for anime in 2019 is March Comes In Like a Lion season 3 when.
Fliss.
But, that's just tightly crossing fingers. Cassie and I just please, please, please announce it at some point.
Give me a fucking legal way to read the manga. Jesus Christ.
That too, really. I'll take a official English licensed release of the manga. That would be great. So, yeah, go us. 2019, new resolutions, new nerdy things to get into. It's looking to be like a fun year. Then from there, I'm honestly just going to drive us into our review for this episode, which is going to be on the show called Satsuriku no Tenshi, or Angels of Death in English. So Angels of Death is animated by Studio JC staff. You will know them for other works including Toradora and Children of the Whales. I mentioned Children of the Whales because I think that the way that the characters are outlined in Angels of Death reminded me of the art style of Children of the Whales. And the synopsis goes as such. 13-year-old Rachel awakens to find herself trapped in the basement of an abandoned building. Without any memories or even a clue as to where she could be, she wanders the building lost and dizzy. In her search, she comes across a man covered in bandages. He introduces himself as Zack, and he wields a Grim Reaper-like sickle. A strange bond struck between them, strengthened by strange, crazy promises. These two, trapped in this strange building, don't know why fate has placed them there, but they will work together desperately to find a way out. Another quick thing that I should mention is that Angels of Death is based on an indie PC game that I have not played, but I know Cassie has played a little bit out of. And I just bring that up because, honestly, there are some observations that I made while watching the show where I thought about it as an anime adaptation versus how it would translate to a game. So we can dive into that in a little bit, but first we can discuss the general story. And, if you guys have any first impressions on the story, go ahead and let me know. Same.
I will say that it starts out way more intriguing than you think it's going to be. I like how they set up the atmosphere, how she's walking around very confused. She knows, as far as we're aware, just as much as we do. And I love when shows of this type do that. Especially when it comes to, for example, for comparison's sake, shows like Shiki or hell, even if you want to go there, some of the aspects of Promised Neverland, which is a show that's airing this season, a lot of it comes down to how an atmosphere is set up and how much information is drip-feeded to you. And I think that the first episode of Angels of Death is very good at making itself seem at least minutely intriguing, and that the story is going to be several layers deep in what's going on in this weird and strange location. And that's about as much praise as I can give the story.
That's actually really good point. I definitely, in the first couple episodes, was really intrigued as to what was going on, what everybody was hiding. Again, because they hint at so many things, and I was like, ooh, I'm excited to see where this show could go. My general pacing with the story is that while watching episodes 1 and 2, I thought, oh, this could be pretty good. Sure, like, I'm down for this ride and to see what happens. And then episodes 3 through 5, I thought, oh, this is slipping a little bit. I'm a little worried. Episode 6 happened, and for me, that was kind of the turning point where I said, oh, okay, we've crashed, and we're not, I mean, this is where we are. We're just going to be, down here for the rest of the show. All right, let's buckle up for 10 more episodes. John, what did you think about the story?
Not really much else I can add to it. Like they really nailed the creepy in the first couple of episodes, as you said, and it had like a lot of intrigue going for it, which was like, it started off so strong in that regard. And then it just kind of lost it from there. And I actually ended up laughing at it more than getting creeped out by it. Though.
Yeah, I really wanted you to mention that from when you dropped it in our chat.
This is not a comedy, but I just spent more time laughing at this series than I did anything else.
You thought Cells of Work was the best comedy of summer 2018?
Oh, yeah, no.
Oh, no. Check out Angels of Death.
There's one scene that after I finished watching it, I had to pause the video, catch my breath, go back and watch it like 3 more times in that one sitting.
You may have to mention that in Spoiler Room because now I'm just very curious. I also had a adverse effect to Angels of Death where I wasn't horrified, but instead of laughing, I tended to watch this show, at least the early episodes, before bed, and it just like lulled me into this very peaceful, sleepy feeling. And so I would tend to watch like an episode or two, and then I just fell asleep like really well. It was weird because it should have distressed me enough to keep me awake, but I think there was just something about the way that it was paced and how it focused so much on like moodiness and like a solemn atmosphere that I just got lulled by it and felt sleepy. So take that as you will. If you're having some insomnia issues, maybe you could check out Angels of Death. Yeah, the main reason I think what happened in episode 6, and then I was like, okay, we're not gonna get up from this, is I feel like around episode 5 and 6, when we get to like Kathy's floor, the logic just hops like leaps and bounds, and we kind of just, you lose all sense of like believability. You have to really hold a suspension of disbelief for the things that are happening. A lot of like blood loss and like kills and fake out kills and hallucinations, and it just it dropped for me massively around that point. And I have a question for you both, because I was shouting this, like, especially in the last half of the series. How come nobody shoots anybody in the damn head? They always shoot in the stomach or in the arm, where it's like, okay, well, this is going to lead to lots of copious bleeding, but no one shoots in the head. Like, if you want to kill somebody, wouldn't you just shoot them in the head?
Well, for one, plot convenience for some characters. Exactly. For one character in particular who died and then didn't, and then died and then didn't, and
anyway, yeah, I have feelings.
Oh yeah. Remember that character you thought was going to be interesting, and you said you had some intrigue? Let's have fun with that. Anyway, but like, to go even off of that, what you said earlier, What's unfortunate is also Crunchyroll heavily promoted this show as a horror anime, and dear God, did they heavily promote it. But there is no sense of urgency in this at all. And that plays into two things you mentioned. One, that, there's this constant solemn atmosphere where there's really no stakes. It's just like, okay, we always know that so-and-so is going to make it out alive because why they haven't already. They haven't died yet. And also, it's just also with the main character, and I won't even say that this is a spoiler because you figure it out by the end of episode 1, but she has no real value. She has no value in herself, and apparently for those around her outside of Zach. So she becomes an entirely unintriguing character. So you get a narrative that doesn't make sense, has leaps in logic, has no urgency, and has no likable characters, which we'll get into later. But it just makes for an entire narrative piece that's just unintriguing and falls flat.
I agree completely. And I feel like as a game, you would have at least a sense of urgency as like you are the player, you are Rachel, and at least intrinsically for you, I mean, I'd assume if you're playing a game, you don't want to like insta-death yourself, You have tasks to do and missions to take care of. So then, like, for me, I feel like there were some scenes where I thought about it and I was like, okay, if this was me and I had to, really rush myself or like solve this problem in a short amount of time, I would be very stressed out. I would feel that. But as you said, especially just like observing Rachel as a character, they give us no investment. And that is absolutely necessary in a horror piece. So
I remember watching Cassie streaming playing the game, or at least the first few floors of it anyway, and there's a bit when Cassie was playing it, she had to go into a really dark area, and even me just watching her play through the game in that section, I was like, do we really have to go in there again?
Yeah, it's so spook! It's so spook! And there's this creepy little child laughing, following you everywhere.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And then we get to that scene in the anime, and I was gearing myself up for them to really lay on with all these creepy feelings, and it just no. Yeah, I can see clearly enough what's going on. This is fine.
This is fine indeed. Yeah, there's not enough stakes in the show, so a lot of times it just felt like it was meandering, and I feel like there were a lot of narratives that just kind of wound back around for like multiple episodes, like 2 to 3. There's like a section where a character is walking with Rachel and is doing all of these things, pulling out all the stops to try to get Rachel to have this revelation. And no matter how many times they try to bring it up, they're like, hey, so, and she just goes, I don't know this. And it takes so long and there's no suspense. And I got so bored because it felt like we were just having redundant conversations that weren't going to reach anywhere. And it really killed a lot of the energy for me. I would say that like probably the middleest batch of episodes for me were the hardest to get through. But that's also due to the character composition, which if you guys are comfortable, we can move into characters really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, Zach was the one character that I was kind of interested in, and I believe that's the same for you two as well.
He was the only character in the show as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Isaac Foster.
Yeah. And there's a segment of the show where Zach is basically rendered useless and is out of the picture for a certain amount of episodes. And those were the hardest episodes for me to get through, honestly.
And to be fair, Zach himself, it's interesting because as much as he made the show entertaining in some regards, at least was aesthetically pleasing to me because I have this weird thing about bandages. But in addition to that, the only thing that made it frustrated me about Zach is that they try and make you sympathetic to somebody who is obviously extremely unhinged and while may have had excuses for committing atrocities when he was younger, which at least they delved into that, a lot of his later murder sprees were not delved into how his psychology changed per se. And they focus a lot on how much he hates liars. And while they very briefly, again, kind of go into that, there's just this level that I couldn't even sympathize with him because he's a fucking serial killer. So,
Yeah.
shrugs.
Yeah, I'd agree completely. Honestly, when I sympathized with him, it was usually when he was pulling the, like, I'm kind of dumb card and I don't understand all this bullshit that you're spouting. Like, that was mostly it for me. But sometimes even, like, moments where we're supposed to be getting, like, a picture of him emotionally, I didn't really resonate with because his character overall just wasn't composed in a very, in a very believable way. And I do think that you have to have investment in, like, a killer, not only to, care about them as a character, but also to be afraid of them. There's actually a big thing in characterization that I feel Angels of Death slipped out of, which is making all of these very, like, twisted, murderous characters. They were all emphasized in a very over-the-top way, and I think it's a lot more effective and horrifying if you can make them seem realistic and do that through subtlety. Case in point, Johann Liebert in Monster, who I find to be one of the most terrifying anime characters that I've ever seen, and yet I'm also charmed and intrigued by them, and he feels real. And these characters were the other end of the spectrum, where they're just really, like, kooky and crazy and
so over the top. It's just like nobody's like this in real life.
Yeah. I do think that I enjoyed Zach the most out of them, but as Cassie said, first and foremost, I hate Danny and I hate Kathy, and the father annoys me. The only other side character that I had a little bit of investment in by the end was Eddie. And when I was talking to you, Cassie, about a character, I totally meant Eddie, but I kept saying Danny, and even just knowing that, I'm like, oh, fuck, yeah, no, fuck Danny. Danny felt like Danny felt to me like an OC character that was desperately trying to insert himself into a plot where he was not relevant. Yeah, especially in the last, like, OVA episodes, I was just like, what are you doing here? Like, you're just, it doesn't feel like you're needed at all. But Eddie, I thought was interesting. Eddie was a grave builder, and he, for, I guess in cases in point, has feelings for Rachel, and unfortunately, I feel like out of all the minor characters, he got the least exposure.
Yep. Like, I feel like we don't, to be fair, Kathy, I guess, kind of got the same treatment, because I don't know what makes her tick either.
Yeah.
But I don't care about her.
Yep.
And honestly, it's frustrating because this show, for its length as well, did very little to make the floor masters seem interesting or have any backstory. And I don't know if this is the same in the game. I only got to Eddie's floor in the game. But, to be fair, it's an anime. Fill in the blanks. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And they did not, which made none of them interesting, so when they were triumphed over or outsmarted or anything else, I'm like, well, I don't have any reason to believe that it would end up any other way.
Yeah, I agree completely.
But I agree, Eddie is very sympathetic also in that he's the only other child, really.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think he even makes a point about how Rachel was his age, and that was also another thing that, like, drew him towards her. And then just, actually, before I go on a small rant about the father, John, are there any of the side characters that stood out to you, or do you have any feelings about Rachel?
Rachel had moments that, like, piqued my interest, but for the most part, it was just like, yeah. She's the brains. She's the one that has to figure it all out, and that's the only reason why she's here, because Zach's too dumb to figure it out himself. And
I did kind of like that about Zach, that he was dumb, and he just kind of admits it in the first episode. And I was like, That's unique, I guess. That's a quirky character trait.
Yeah, beyond that, it was just like, give me a reason to care. Give me a reason to care about any of this.
Yep. I'm glad we're all kind of mutual on that front. Yeah.
The only other person that had me any intrigued was the father and the priest, rather, who was just enigmatic beyond all measure and weird pink smoke. Hallucinogens, yay!
Oh god, yeah. I don't even want to know how that happened. But I even wrote in my notes for Father, I was like, he's literally just an avatar to say like to spout like prophetic nonsense, basically exactly like you said. He's just an enigmatic like avatar, and he cannot be on screen without saying Rachel Gardner, and it drove me nuts. Oh, I fucking hated it. And I was like shrieking by the end of the show. I was like, can you not, please?
But even with him, when you realize, oh, enigmatic dude is just enigmatic dude. That's his shtick.
Shtick. It's just one day he just put on this coat and is like, I have fun doing this.
I mean, that's what it sounds like by the end.
It really does.
His explanation for the whole thing. That's it.
Yeah.
That's not even a spoiler, guys. You want the end of Angels of Death? It's that. Priest guy put on a cape one day.
Oh my god.
And Angels of Death happened. That's it.
He's just some like edgelord otaku 40-year-old guy, and then he decided to simulate this entire anime. That's just, oh my god. I cannot. Yeah, I have a lot of issues with Danny. We'll move to most of them probably being in spoilers. But, like, I will say that they tried really hard for some reason to, like, hammer in his backstory and his relevance, and it just did not work for me at all. I was just annoyed, and I was like, why are you here? Like, get out of here. And I didn't fall for it at all.
One more question that I have to ask you guys, because I feel like it's absolutely needed to ask this question. Did you find the relationship building, not like romantic relationship, but just the relationship between Rachel and Zach to be intriguing or even believable? Because I don't buy it. I just don't. I feel like they're set up as two different opposites that came together and had two different set of skills, which, cool, that was interesting for a couple of episodes. But the problem is that Rachel herself has absolutely no intrigue, and the intrigue that Zach has is basically at surface level, and them interacting with each other always was basically the same amount of dialogue each time.
Yeah.
The exact same dialogue each time.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, I was not really a huge fan of it. And I think that also just comes from both of them being weak individual characters. So, like, if I'm not invested or believe in them individually, it's not like if you just put them next to each other, all of a sudden all those problems go out the window. So I agree completely. I feel like if anything, like, the closeness that they have by the end is like a case of, I don't know if I'd say Stockholm Syndrome, but like literally that they were the only other person that was beside them. So then it created like this intense like need to be close to each other. But yeah, I didn't feel a lot for it. There were many moments in the show when it tried to be emotional, and I just said, am I supposed to feel something right now?
I feel like we can probably move on from there.
Yeah.
Sure. I do feel like what is more interesting to talk about is production, because I think that's the main draw to this show, or at least it certainly was for me. I think overall the show is very nicely animated. The character designs are like fine, but it's very sleek, and there were a couple of episodes where I noticed that the quality dropped, but overall I think it had a decent standard of animation. What did you guys think?
I feel like while the aesthetic was something that I really liked, and like, I agree with you, the character designs are nice, and for the most part, the animation was decent. It's static a lot. It
Mm-hmm.
requires a lot of attention to be in very static looking places as well, which they're in a weird building, so whatever. Some floors had a specific aesthetic, Kathy's being one of the most distinct.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, nothing really stands out. And also, it relied on a lot of sitting in one place and talking for long periods of time that
Yeah.
felt boring. It's fine to have something that looks nice, but you need to keep me interested with at least some more movement than lip flaps sometimes, guys. And there were some moments that really shined. For example, Zach's appearance. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they did this really cool red eye thing that I enjoyed. Sometimes they would do things that I hated, like doing that weird blood spatter filter and shaking the screen a lot.
Yeah.
So to me, I feel like the production in regards to animation, at least, is very 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
The overall aesthetic, though, I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah. I'd agree with you there. What did you think, John?
I've got really mixed feelings about the production of this as a whole, because it's like, props to it for adapting something with such a interesting source, in that it was this indie made RPG horror game that in theory I could buy RPG Maker, and with enough time and effort and talent I would be able to produce something similar. And that was the source of this series, and like, not to discredit the creators of the original game, like, that was a lot of talent involved. But just the fact that that is the source material ultimately for this series, that is really interesting. But as a result, a lot of the still moments that he's just sitting and talking lip flaps does ultimately come back to, well, it was just two characters standing in place with text on the screen.
Honestly, yeah, I do agree. A lot of it was just very static scenes. It's also probably how I started to get sleepy when I was watching it. The biggest annoyance for me in this show, weirdly enough, it was the voice acting and the sound design. And I will say, like, to the voice actors that I caught, it was not badly cast. Like, I know some of the voice actors, and they've done roles where I think that they have performed really well. If anything, I almost want to say that it was bad voice direction. Because there was just so many, like, again, with the psychotic characters, just they screamed and like it and did laughter, and it was yeah, it was so obnoxious. Like, for like maybe the first half of episode 1, I was like, okay, Zach has like a crazy killer laugh, that's all right. And then it started to get really grating. And then with Kathy, I just could not, from the start. I was like, no, this is making my ears bleed. Like, I hate this. And they also had like a lot of just really loud noises, or like the intense dun 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 kind of scary music stuff, and it just felt like it was up a couple levels too high, where it always felt like it was blaring in my ears, and like it just felt like I was hearing something offensive. And I can't say that I've like paid attention to that in other anime, but I was really upset with it here. I was not pleased with the sound design and the vocal direction, because some of the voice actors are great. Like, Zach's voice actor is great. That's Bakugo.
Yeah.
Like, he does a really good job, but I was pretty irritated by that. And I don't remember any of the music outside of the opening and endings.
The ending was the only thing I really liked. The opening was okay. I think it set the tone, and I feel like aesthetically as well, they put some nice little things in there. For example, in the opening, the wanted poster of Zach is his original sprite from the game.
Yeah,
No
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. If you go, it's neat. If you go and check it out in the it's like the first frame, or one of the first frames of the opening before the poster flies away. It's actually his in-game character design instead of the anime character design. So I thought that was cool. I really liked the use of words and paint blobs and Rachel putting her hands together and it looks like she's praying to a blue moon in the ending. Those were nice. Everything else is kind of very mediocre or just bad, and I agree with you on the sound direction.
Yeah, I'd agree. The opening and ending were like the highlight of the show for me. I do agree that I think the ending was my favorite. The opening at first I was like, but then it just kind of grew on me. And so I like headbanged a teensy bit with it when it would come on. But again, it was probably scraping for the bottom of the barrel to find good things in this show. So that's, how it went. John, what did you think of the opening and ending?
Again, the opening was just kind of there at first, but I ended up kind of liking it by the end. Probably not gonna go out of my way to get it. But the ED, I actually really liked the ED because it was about the only thing that actually managed to keep up the creep factor throughout the series. And that's one thing I got moments where I do really like creepy music. And this is like, this is another song for the creepy collection. Yay.
Yeah. I liked the little piano chords a whole lot at the beginning and ending of the song. Those were really nice. Do 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 do. Yes.
Another production thing I really liked is also to go with the ED. I like how all of the titles of the episodes were at the end and they were in English. That was neat.
Yeah, that was really good. And that also went along, with the like all the messages that were like written on walls and in letters and stuff were also English in the anime. So that was a nice touch. And I remember I asked you, Cassie, and I think you said, because I observed all the names were like very English, and I think you said it was going for like a more English-based setting and characters and stuff.
I believe so, at least.
Yeah. Similarly to the voice acting and like the killers being over the top, sometimes the facial designs went like way too crazy, and to me it felt really cheesy. I really hated Danny's stupid crazy tongue that like came out.
Yeah.
It was so unnecessary and dumb. And then they did some weird things with Kathy too. Like there was one scene I remember where she was talking about like a punishment and they put her in this weird fisheye, and I was like, we don't need all this. We really don't. This is like aiming for B horror films, but like it's not even funny enough really to be as appealing as a B horror film. And then also the gore. This is probably a good thing in my book, but even at the same time, because I wanted something to intrigue me, they didn't even really draw the gore very well.
No.
Yeah.
I think the only scene that made me wince was when she was kind of stitching up his stomach.
Yeah, I'd agree. And there was another part where like blood was leaking out of it, and I was like, okay, a little bit. But they played it rather safe. I know a character got their hand cut off at one point, and like it's like grayed out like a circle. Like it just looked really, really fake, and I was like, okay. This is what we're here for. We're okay to splatter blood all over the screen and like all over the floor, like way more than what would be released when like without dying, because these characters are still walking after that, but we couldn't really, draw bone details or anything like that.
Nope, none of that shit.
Yeah.
Not in my slaughterhouse.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was really it on production for me, unless you two had some other points to bring up.
Jonathan?
Joestar?
The only thing I completely forgot to mention is that there was one jump scare that did get me throughout this entire thing, but I also knew it was coming, and it was when Zach first appeared.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Again, everything is way better at the beginning of the show than it is at the end.
It's so true.
I was watching it and I was like, Zach's about to appear, isn't he? Where is he? Where's he coming? Smash! There he is!
There he
is!
is!
And that's the way it got me. And I also want to similarly point out the only time when I watched Silent Hill for the first time, the movie anyway, the only time that got me with a jump scare was when she bumped into the barrels. And I saw the barrels, and I knew she was going to bump into the barrels, and I knew they were going to make a loud noise. I still jumped.
Yeah, that means they must have executed it well, at least.
Actually, for a fun cinematic jump scare recently, that was fun to see Cami experience. We went to
oh
see
my god!
Into the Spider-Verse, which is an amazing movie and not a horror movie in any way, shape, or form. It's child friendly. You should definitely go see it. It's one of the best movies I've seen in years. Guys, go do that. I just want an excuse to plug Spider-Verse. Not gonna lie. But one of the cutest things that happened when we went is that there is a scene with a close-up of the spider, and you see them getting up close to it. You know they're gonna do something. The music gets very quiet. They're about to touch the spider. You just know. But it got me every time. They do this little glitchy effect, and it's not even really that scary, but it's just because of the sound direction. And Cami about jumped out of her seat, and it was hilarious. And adorable. And I was like, oh, that happened to me too.
Yeah, you were nice to me about it. And I think you can remind me if this sounds familiar, but I think I gave you like a thumbs up or like, we're A-okay, we're all right. And actually, funny enough, when I went with my family to go see Spider-Verse, because again, it's that good, it made my nephew jump right next to me. And I just told him, I was like, Jamari, it did that to me too. Like,
Spider-Verse, a better horror film / show than Angels of Death.
Oh, completely. That being said, are we good to roll on into ratings?
Oh, dear God, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. John, are you good if I ask you to go first? Because I'm asking you to go first.
Sure.
In today's episode of Nobody Can Say No to Cami.
There were a bunch of things about this series that, like, had promise, like, really early on, and just it let slip. And as the only way I can think of recommending this is if you've played the game already and just want to see what would this look like animated, then sure, go ahead. But other than that, no, just skip it. Go play the game. Go find and play the game. And skip this.
Yeah, sounds good to me. I can go next and say that I echo a lot of the statements. Definitely, as Cassie said, I was definitely thinking there was a lot of promise in the show in the first, 3 episodes. And I can see easily how, as a game, this would be intriguing enough and be kind of spooky and intense. And it seems like a fun game to play. There was a period of time where I was really into looking up horror indie kind of RPG games. I watched a playthrough of Ebe and some other ones. Ebe is really good, and a lot of times when I was watching this, I was like, can we just get an Ebe anime, please? But to be fair, if it was executed like Angels of Death, I probably wouldn't want it. I do think that a lot of the problems with this show fall down to some subpar execution, and that is a shame. I really do think that this is a skip it, because I can't think of any case where I would recommend it over just playing the game or watching a different horror anime. So there you go. That's a skip it from me.
So I guess it's my turn.
Yep.
I will equate the experience of watching Angels of Death as to watching a train wreck. But instead of the train wrecking and stopping, each compartment just blows up, one at a time, killing everybody inside. And you just can't look away.
Oh my god.
That is the Angels of Death experience. And to be fair, that would be more horrifying to watch than this actual show. So, if you're looking for a genuine horror experience, or even an edgy experience, there are better things that you can be watching. This does steep itself in some very edge material, but it's not quality edge material. And yes, quality edge material does exist. Cami's going to talk about it here in a bit, but this is not it. It is not. I went in with a lot of intrigue. I was very excited, especially because Zach is extremely aesthetically pleasing and he's still really hot. I don't care what anybody says. But other than that, after that intrigue wore off, Zach ain't that great. I've got better pretty boys to look at. That's all I'm saying. So he could only carry it so far, even with his charisma and his outlandish and interesting personality.
And his bandages.
Yeah. That being said, there's not. God, I love bandages. That being said, there isn't a whole lot to enjoy here production-wise outside of the initial character designs. The story is not very good. It's just not worth your time. So, originally I wanted to give this a burn it because after I finished Angels of Death, I spent 2.5 hours at 1 o'clock in the morning on a weekend trying to find anything that could make this salvageable, including to, and not limited to, looking up the ending of the game and praying it was slightly different, and it's not, and I'm sad. I don't want to play the game anymore either.
Oh
so,
no!
The anime ruined that for me too. So originally I was like, wow, it ruined 2 experiences, not just 1. Burn this fucker. But I'm just gonna go ahead in the event of me recently starting the beautiful masterpiece of Green, which we'll discuss at another time, and just give it a skip it instead.
Okay. That sounds... you put a lot of thought into that and a lot of time and investment, and I'm really sorry that it made you sad.
I hate
that
this
you don't
show.
want to play the game. I understand why. I totally understand why. But you know a show that actually you really like, and then when I watched it with you, and we both liked? It's called Shiki. And if you are looking for something, a recommendation based around Angels of Death, so something that has a lot of horror to it, and does actually manage to execute decently on some intrigue and even some gore that makes you pretty uncomfortable, Shiki's a great pick. It's a show about a small town, and then there is the possibility of some supernatural beings, maybe vampires, who knows, that come and encroach on the town, and things slowly fall apart and start burning and set on fire, and it's great. It's great. It's definitely a great Halloween pick, too, if you're ever just looking for... something spooky to watch at any time. And I totally would rewatch Shiki in a heartbeat over watching Angels of Death. So that'd be a pretty good recommendation.
You know what Shiki also has? An interesting, message, and makes you question the motives of all parties involved, which I think Angels of Death tried to do and failed. Horrible.
Yeah. It's even got a doctor that's actually horrifying and doesn't have a freaky tongue, which is pretty
Jesus
great.
Christ.
Yeah. So yeah, go check out Shiki if you haven't seen it, and have fun with that. The interesting thing that's flipped is the production, because there are some wonky hair designs in that show, but you get used to it. It's pretty charming. Okay. With that said, we are going to roll on into our spoiler room, so you have the, next 5-10 seconds or so. If you don't want to be spoiled on the intriguing and heavily plot-driven show Angels of Death, then we will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Otherwise, welcome to the spoiler room.
I feel like this is going to be the shortest spoiler room ever.
Yeah.
Longest one was Penguin Drum. Shortest one will be this. The ending was stupid.
Yep.
Did you hate it?
I hated it. And then I went and looked up if the game ending was different. And it's not. How the fuck did he break out of a high security prison? And why? To come and save a girl, to kill her when he saved her. But he's gonna kill her anyway? But we don't know, because all we see is a knife and some blood spatter on the floor and a windowsill. Because... ambiguity is the spice of life. Fuck you, Angels of Death.
Yeah, I didn't think that the ending was, super effective. The other thing that someone noticed, because I looked up some, ending reactions to it on Kitsu and stuff, that's just what I like to do, and someone mentioned, how the fuck would he have a scythe? His scythe broke, at the
I was
the
about
end
to
of
say
the...
that,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
only that, he had time to go find another scythe identical to his old one because his old one broke.
I mean, he was able to break through fucking boulders with that fucker anyway. Like, I don't...
Yeah, which was so realistic.
There's nothing realistic about this at all. It's just, what's the point? Like, they had all of this build up to him, I guess, learning to care about somebody else, and he, like, surrenders her at the end, and himself, so that she can get medical attention. And I guess he's supposed to die, he's supposed to be on death row or something, which her psychiatrist tells her when she's not supposed to tell her. Psychiatrists don't do that. They make a good enough paycheck that they follow the goddamn rules.
There was, like, theories, I guess, that people said that I read where they were saying, you know, maybe it's that she literally just, like, threw herself out of a window, like, and killed herself and it was a hallucination, which, like, when I look at the ending with the broken window and the blood, I'm like, maybe that happened, but we also see the knife with no blood on it. But I'm going to be honest, I was just so frustrated with the characters that I'm like, yeah, I'm okay if she killed herself and then hallucinated that they're happily ever after. That's fine with me. That's kind of the ending that I am more comfortable with, because otherwise it's just so cheesy and nonsensical, and I just I don't like it.
And stupid. To be fair, that psychiatrist thing was a joke, but still, like, there was no reason for that doctor to tell her what she did or when she did. Like, there was no like anything to make us believe that this doctor had any reason to reveal that information to Rachel. I think the only thing that I enjoyed about Rachel is that she ended up being a floor master in the end, but even that was poorly executed.
Yep.
Yeah, the whole time that the fucking priest is like, Rachel Ugadona, you are evil, and she's like, no, like, you caught it from a mile away. And, like, they stretched it out so thinly. And then her backstory is, like, the most cliche fucking, of course, this would turn somebody into a killer backstory. Like, I hated all of it. I was just like, I don't give one fuck. I don't give two fucks. I don't give no fucks.
No? I mean, I appreciated what they tried to do, but how they did it was so bad.
Yeah,
and maybe it's better done in the game, but that's also in the game, so...
Yeah, and I mean, it'd be more interesting in the game because you are playing as the character, and then you're like, oh, holy shit, I'm a floor master. Like, that's pretty cool. I didn't think it executed well, and I didn't like how Danny was, like, a part of the whole setup, and it's like, why are you fucking here the whole time? And all his fake out deaths pissed me off so bad. Yep. And in, like, the second to last episode we see him again, I was like, I'm just fucking done. Like, get the fuck out of here, Danny. No one cares.
How many times do we have to kill you?
How many times do we gotta teach you this lesson, old man? Yeah,
also,
no, exactly.
Like, the whole thing in the end being that, I don't understand. Like, so this priest guy set up this building that is a real building, and he is a real person, and I guess all the people who were in there were real people, but they were angels, and he thought he was God, and it's like, is this a delusion?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, nothing is explained. And you know what, with a lot of stuff, I would be like, oh, maybe that's the point. No, you can't do that here. You literally cannot.
Yeah, it just kills any intrigue and suspension, again, of, like, reality. It just didn't work. Like, you don't know how the hell he got all these people here in the first place. Like, it was just dumb. And, yeah. A waste of time. A little bit.
I am so sorry.
No, hey, no. Like, honestly, I was thinking back on it, and I was like, yeah, I would have passed this on 3 episodes, too. Because, again, it showed potential in the beginning.
It did.
It's not your fault that it fell through.
I also hated the constant, are you gonna kill me? Are you gonna kill me? Please kill me. Yes. Please promise you're gonna kill me. Please, 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 please. Is it getting annoying yet?
Did they even also... Okay, so one thing that I kind of missed the boat on, and maybe you two could, like, fill me in, but I never understood a reason why she was so God-obsessed and, like, ran by the Bible. Was that ever clarified? Because, like... I just remember she really wanted to have a god, and she, like, couldn't have a god, and she's like, no, I can't do this unless I have a god. God is God. And I was like, why? When? Like, your parents weren't Bible thumpers. That wasn't shown.
No.
Like, I don't know.
the whole thing with Rachel, and you have to pay attention, which is hard to fucking do with this show. But you have to pay attention. They give you all the pieces, but it's very dumb. Basically, what the whole plot of the show is that Rachel murdered her parents.
Yeah.
And then she was put in an orphanage where she killed another dog. And was at that point, and already was put into psychiatric care. And Danny found out that she was interesting or beautiful or whatever, so he kidnapped her and brought her to this building. And at first he started giving her anything that he felt that she would want on her floor. And eventually, through him giving her a shit ton of stuff, she came across a Bible. And at that point, she thought about what she had done, what her thought processes were about wanting to kill things and put them back together in her perfect image, and how messed up she was psychologically, and she had a mental break.
Could I have just had you explain the entire anime to me? Because, yeah, I missed all of that.
And it's highly implied by the time that you get to the end of the show that she had that mental break. And that's why she was put on the first floor in the first place, because at that point, Danny wanted to just, I don't know, mess with her or just see where that mental break was going to go. That's less clear to me. But from there, she remembers her parents' deaths by the end of episode 1, and most likely the fact of everything that she's done, which is why she's so obsessed with dying, because she doesn't feel like she deserves to be the one to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I guess I got the motivations for, like, that she was like, oh shit, I did this. But yeah, I guess the Bible definitely was, like, that little key that I missed. Like, I saw it show up, but I didn't put those pieces together.
It's something she came across in all the stuff that Danny just gave to her. Because he just gave her a shit ton of stuff. Because I wouldn't say he's in love with her, but he was fascinated with her.
Yeah, that was also weird, because...
Obsessed.
Yeah, he had some Oedipus issues going on, and then they, like, pushed to Rachel. It was weird.
I do like that they did hint at her obsession with wanting to put things back together the way she likes them in the first episode with the bird. Yeah,
like, it felt like, at least at first, what she was fighting is she had this instinct of, I just want things to be good. When she breaks in, the method that she gets to make that happen is unfortunate. Yeah.
Shall I talk about the scenes that really made me laugh?
Yes, please.
So, the first one, the one that I had to pause afterwards, catch my breath, and then end up watching it a few more times, was on Eddie's floor when Zach finds the pickaxe and goes on a rampage, smashing all of the gravestones, because you've got him doing that, laughing the entire time, with the blood splatter on the screen,
and the shaky camera,
and all the screamo music going on in the background, and it all just ended up being so much and so over the top, and then that I started laughing at that, and then it just cuts to Rachel, bored and annoyed, saying so noisy with him still smashing things in the background.
Oh yeah, she's like behind the door, she's like, what a lot of noise.
And that just did it for me, and I had to pause it and just had to, like, take a moment to get it out of my system, laugh it off, catch my breath. And then I was like, no, I'm watching that again.
Nice.
And another, well, I won't say scene because it happened a few times, but in Kathy's floor, every time Zach grabbed Rachel by the collar and would either drag her about or swing her around, the way that Rachel would just ragdoll and be like, okay, this is me now. And just be swung, let herself be swung around.
A scene that did make me laugh at the end is when Zach was like do you think I can slice through these borders or these boulders? Just give me the word, Rachel. Then she goes, yeah. He literally drops her and just fucking goes and like smashes the boulders. And I was like, wow, fucking smooth. You just like dropped her on this staircase.
Didn't even like put her down, just literally opens arm, she goes
Just-
flop.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be
so-
honest, that would not be a very good date.
Oh, heck no. Yeah. I did find it really funny, though, when, like, he was on the elevator and he's like, so, this is my name. Can I tell you this? And then she's not saying anything. He's like, what the hell? I'm trying to make small talk. And I was like, nice.
They also did that annoying thing where sometimes they'd have stuff at the end of the episodes. Which was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
why?
And then the
Oh.
recaps at the beginning were, like, really long. And I was like, I just want to get through this.
The only other thing that I thought was mildly intriguing was Zach's backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because I was like, oh, what are they going to do with this old man who can't see? That's interesting. And then that ended up just being kind of okay. And Kathy's like dollhouse thing was like grueling to watch, but I think that was the only moment where I was mildly emotionally impacted because it was like, oh, they're playing with his PTSD. Oh, a serial killer can have PTSD. What an interesting concept.
Oh, and Rachel, you just had to say the one thing that is the absolute worst thing you could have said to this man at this moment.
Like, just do what I say or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That scene was decently done. Yeah, I can't honestly think of anything else. Unless you guys have a couple more points.
The only other thing I can think of is that they tried to at some point establish Rachel as just kind of a ruthless person by having her mow down a bunch of people and do a bunch of tasks. And you mentioned this at one point, and I just felt nothing. And
oh my god, and then the part where it's like hands or shit coming out of the graves and she's stepping on them and you hear all these screams. I was just like, fucking stop. Like, I hate this. It's loud and obnoxious for no reason. And then, the snake was a fun one too.
Mhm.
That was just like, sometimes you could see it, sometimes you couldn't see it, you know?
the stupid illusion magic was bullshit.
Yeah, it really was. I'm glad that it got a cameo in the show, considering it's like it shows up in the opening, but still.
Also, I didn't understand why she knew to cut the painting, but okay.
Yeah,
I think that those are also like game mechanics that just do not translate well to an anime. One other thing, and then I'm done, I swear. Another thing that happens in the game that is not transferred well in the anime and just seems very confusing is that, and this is a spoiler for the game, but if you're listening to the spoiler of the anime, you're basically listening to a spoiler of the game anyway. But small spoiler for the game, at one point you do play as Zach, and that is on Rachel's floor. And when you find out Rachel's the bad dude, or one of the bad guys, she tries to kill you with traps around her floor. And that sounds really great in a video game, but in the anime it was just like, why the fuck are you doing all these random bullshit things?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
Like trying to set the room on fire with the lighter, or
Yeah.
shooting a light so you can leave the room, and that's when she disappears, or like all these things that she does in the anime seem pointless and weird because she comes around a couple minutes later. And then, but in the game, it's interesting. I would assume. I haven't played that part, but it's just like, oh, okay, I see how this would work in the game and be very interesting and a fun mechanic, because suddenly you're Zach trying to avoid being murdered by the girl who's been accompanying the entire game. Cool, interesting, wonderful. Does not translate to the anime at all.
Yeah.
Apparently he also eats the pizza in the game.
Okay.
What?
Apparently in the game and in the manga adaptation, Zach eats the pizza that was on the table that he just kicked away in the anime.
I did think that was funny in the anime. Like, you just see this shot of pizza and he's like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And he kicks the table.
I'm assuming the pizza was also part of a trap.
Maybe.
Don't know if it was poisoned or not. But
Okay, I just remembered my last thing. But people do not bleed through their stomach as long as Zach did and not die. That was such bullshit. Like, that he was still alive after, like, they just leave these massive trails of blood coming from his stomach, and then he, like, actually runs and, like, fights it. I was just like, this is really, really dumb.
He also lived through being fucking electrocuted for like 15 minutes.
Oh my god. Yeah.
And from being injected with poison after he had been mortally wounded.
Yeah, and then just,
Yeah.
They try and play it up as he's a monster, but it just comes out across as, this is stupid.
Exactly, because then even at the end, they're like, no, he's just always been human. He's Ningen. And it's like, well, you just suck.
He certainly did some inhuman things earlier.
Exactly. And I liked it at the end when Rachel's bleeding and the father is like, you can still save her. And he's like, no, dumbass, if anyone's lost this much blood, then they're gonna die. And it's like, well, you didn't, Zach.
Yeah, you were fine. You think she can't fucking walk this off?
Exactly.
Do you think that she just gets a participation award? Like...
So, yeah. Speaking of walking things off, I think that we're gonna walk out of the trenches of Angels of Death because we've given it a really, really good review. And some of us need to sleep and rest and recuperate, and some of us are gonna go have fun on trips. So that is going to be it for episode 94 of the Annie Chat Box. We thank you again for tuning in to us, and I hope that you have a good night.
Oh, yes, me. Look forward to more ranting next week.
Bye-bye.